We all know taxes are a part of life, right? But the laws behind them, well, they can feel like a total mystery. Today, we're going to try and crack that code. We're diving into how these super complex rules get interpreted and who really gets the final say. Have you ever just stared at a tax form and thought, what on earth does this even mean? Yeah, you're definitely not alone. It brings up a really basic question. In this complicated game of taxes, who is the ultimate referee? So, to get to the bottom of this, you got to understand that tax law isn't just one big book. It's actually a system that's built on two main pillars, the official rule book and the history of how those rules have been used in the past. Okay, so on one hand, you've got the tax legislation. This is the official rule book, the laws passed by the government. But then, on the other hand, you have what's called judicial decisions, or case law. You can think of these as the game tapes, a whole library of past rulings that show us how the rules were applied in real-life situations. And get this, legislation isn't just one single document. Nope. It's actually this whole web of stuff, including the main acts, super detailed schedules, official regulations, and even international treaties like double tax agreements. All right, so we've got our rule book and our game tapes. But who actually gets to read them and decide what they mean? Well, it's not just one person making the call. It's more like a constant tug of war between two key players. Right in the middle of this whole thing, you have two main players, two opposing sides, and they're both reading the exact same rules, but with totally different goals in mind. So on one end of the rope, you've got the tax authority. Here in South Africa, that's SARS. Their job? Make sure everyone's following the rules and collect the taxes that are owed. And on the other end, well, that's the taxpayer. That's you. And you're just trying to figure out your rights and what you're supposed to do. So you might be thinking, why do I have to be the one interpreting all this? And here's the kicker. It all comes down to a legal concept called the burden of proof. This little phrase, it changes everything. It means the responsibility to prove your case is on you, the taxpayer. So what does that actually look like? Well, it means if you want to claim an exemption or a deduction or say, hey, this money shouldn't be counted as income, it's not up to SARS to prove you're wrong. No way. It is 100% up to you to prove that you are right. You have to build your own case, brick by brick. Okay, I know what you're thinking. An individual person up against a whole government agency, that sounds pretty daunting. But don't worry, the system has this incredibly powerful safety net built right in. It's a golden rule that stands above everything else to make sure things stay fair. And that golden rule, it's the Constitution. It's the supreme law of the land, which means no other law, no regulation, no interpretation can ever overrule it. This right here might just be the most powerful idea in the entire legal system. Think about it. Any law, any rule, any interpretation that goes against the Constitution is just invalid. It's the ultimate check on power. What this means in the real world is that every single interpretation of tax law, whether it's coming from SARS, your accountant, or even a judge, has to be held up against the Constitution. It has to pass this fundamental test of fairness and justice. So what exactly is this constitutional test? Well, any interpretation has to line up with the spirit, purport, and objects of the Bill of Rights. Now that might sound a little complex, but to put it simply, it's about making sure that any decision isn't just technically correct, but that it's also fundamentally fair and respects your rights as a citizen. And who gets the final say, the ultimate referee in this constitutional game? That would be the Constitutional Court. They handle these big, important questions, and whatever they decide is binding on all the other courts. When they make a call, that's it. The debate is over. Okay, wow. We've covered a ton here. Legislation, case law, the different interpreters, the Constitution. So let's just take a step back for a second and look at the big picture. Why is the whole system set up this way? Let's boil it all down. You've got the written laws, that's our rule book. You've got the past court rulings, those are the game tapes. You have two main players interpreting all this stuff, SARS and you, the taxpayer. And watching over the entire game to make sure it's played fairly, that's the Constitution, the ultimate rule book. See, this whole thing is a system of checks and balances. It's all designed very carefully to make sure that no single group, not the government, not the tax authority, not even the courts, gets to have absolute power. At the end of the day, it's there to protect the rights of the individual. And all of this leaves us with one last big question to chew on. If laws are really just words on a page until someone reads and interprets them, then where does the true power really lie? Is it in the words themselves, or is it in the hands and minds of those who get to decide what they mean? Something to think about.